when they have to start to begin to sell the right of boom, the preventative, the resilience, compared to what they're good at, which is the prevention or the reactive, that's where they're having trouble making that. So how do you change that conversation to bridge that gap? Does that make sense?
It does. And we struggled with that early on too. I would tell you, we started relying heavily on the SaaS partners we did choose to help us with those conversations. That was a huge way for us to learn. And we realized that they approached those subjects a lot differently. They talked a lot about incident life cycle, which is honestly a very introductory, easy conversation to have. It's like, walk me through it, Mr. Customer. When something happens, what do you do? What happens internally? Like that's such.
And they almost never know the answer, right?
Correct. And then we get to go, here's what should happen, right? So what I would tell people, you cannot get down into I think Gary you can't get pulled down into the technical weeds in these conversations, right? We're staying at a conceptual business level, and we're talking about basic. I mean, if you think of security, for the most part, every product you put out there is reactive. So the questions are centered around what are you doing based on the reaction, right? And helping them understand that life cycle. And then you can easily have one slide that basically, and we used to do this, we would show, here's the vendors we have in this category. And when it comes to recovery, here's what we do, and we would just map that out for them so that we're demonstrating them the succinct flow of when something goes wrong, here's what happens. When something goes wrong, here's what happens, right? And then, tabletop exercises and things like that. We were one of the few that actually did BCDR plans. When I first started at the last company, we charged for them, which I was like, what? We need them to do it. So we got to, that was interesting. But
they will pay.
They absolutely, yes. But this is where I empathize so much with MSP owners, because I am speaking from a perspective of a customer that I know will pay, yet they may service a customer that would never pay, right? Which is why I encourage people to start drifting up market with security, because you'll find they have a lot more in common than the mix of your customer base in the SMB space, right? Where you're having to convince people to be serious, where, if you have an organization, and this was a paradigm shift for me. I mean, I remember, Gary, I started, my first MSP I worked with was Dan Isidoric, right? Yeah. PC Miracles back in the day. When I was sitting there doing my 100 dials a day, if they had an internal IT department, we would pretty much flag them and be like, nope.
Yep.
Hard pass. To now, I would encourage, if they have an internal IT department, I'd be like, ding, 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 ding. Like, I know that these guys with their 3-man distributed team cannot handle every aspect of cybersecurity, right? So it's just, I really feel like it's shifted, where those enemies have become your friends. Those are the people. And what's nice is they're so much more available than the practice administrator of a law firm. They're people who have their head down in front of their keyboard all day. If they have an opportunity to go sit in a webinar,
very easy to get to,
they're going to come.
Yeah.
So, and I think where, the owner-led sales right now, if you have more technical owners, they jive really well with those internal IT folks, because they're, they've seen a lot of those same things. So I think, to your point, you can't get in the weeds. You need to present it as, I would really literally show, here's IT operations, here's security operations, here's our MSP, here's how we sit in the middle and handle both sides of the fence for you, and talk to them about it that way. Because when you're not going to confuse people when you say, okay, so, it's very common when a company has 500 employees that they have some sort of MDR. Maybe they're working with Red Canary. When Red Canary gives you an incident, what do you do? If it's 3 a.m., just tell me, you know what I mean? And then off of that,